Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. Legal Aid Society of Palm Beach County is proud to present the topic of preserving business assets during COVID-19, presented by attorney at law DaVatrice Lindsey. Thank you, DaVatrice, for joining us. Let's see if we have any questions. If you wouldn't mind holding your questions at the end, that way we can have anyone who would like to ask a question during the presentation to please type in your question in the chat box, and I'll be more than happy to pass it along to DaVatrice after her presentation. So thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you, Mario. Basically, before we get started, I want to give you a little bit of background on the Neighborhood Entrepreneurial Law Project, which is known as NELP. Next slide, please. All right. It was launched in 2018 for individuals and for-profit small businesses. We provide residents of the Palm Beach County area the tools and knowledge to be successful in starting and or owning their small business. We also supply limited financial assistance for business registration, logo design, home occupation affidavit, and more for eligible applicants. And we furnish webinars and podcasts regarding important business topics, such as the topic on the slide, why should small businesses obtain copyrights? It is still available on SoundCloud. Next slide, please. Due to some of the government funding running out and or not qualifying for it, you may want to look into alternative funding such as grants, loans, and more. I listed a couple of funding opportunities such as Hello Alice, the Enrich Her Funding, and Shea Moisture. Also, I wanted to make sure that I give you the information regarding Duke University because they have created a COVID-19 funding tracker. It's a searchable database of grants, loans, and cash equivalents that can help entrepreneurs, nonprofits, and businesses around the world. So you definitely probably want to check that out. Next slide, please. Now we'll move into avoiding business liability. I will cover waivers, signage, and terminating an employee. Excuse me. In regards to waivers, an establishment can require waivers. However, it does not combat the requirement for the business to provide a safe workplace and a safe place for patrons to shop. In addition, waivers can come with a negative connotation. Waivers are effective to a certain extent, but still may not fully protect the business against liability. For example, against OSHA violations. Now, in regards to signage, it should be highly visible. It should also be regarding how you're protecting your patrons. For example, how you're properly sanitizing, how you're protecting your employees, and how your business is following COVID-19 guidelines. In regards to terminating an employee, this is a very sensitive area because on one hand, you have a business to run, which provides for you and your family. But on the other hand, the employee is concerned about their health and possibly negatively affecting their family. So please keep in mind that Florida is an at-will state. The employee may qualify for unemployment benefits, workers' compensation benefits, or a period of paid or unpaid leave. So the employee may sue for wrongful termination. That's why it's best to contact a labor and employment law attorney and or an insurance attorney. Next slide, please. All right, now we're going to get into strategies. So basically, you may want to look into restructuring your marketing. Clear communication on how your business was impacted by COVID-19 and what you're doing to combat it is essential, as well as updating all social media frequently. That includes Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, and more. Less information more often is more effective. Also, send clients relevant information, even if it doesn't deal with your business, to let them know that you care. Podcasts, webinar, and YouTube videos have proven to be effective as well. So you want to teach and inform and then offer your services. To further elaborate, you want to pick a topic pertaining to your business, expound on that topic, and give best demonstrated practices, and then include your company information. You may also want to change to match the new demand. For example, a lot of sit-in only restaurants have changed to now offering delivery service. Some companies have also switched to working remotely if possible. If you decide to do so, please ensure that you have the proper documents in place, which include the teleworker agreement, the remote work policy, and the remote team agreements. The teleworker agreements are legal agreements that identify responsibilities of both the teleworker and the employer and document an understanding between both parties. Teleworker agreements reflect the employer's overall policies on teleworking. Remote work policies set forth an employer's overall policies and procedures for telework. A remote work policy often addresses employee eligibility for remote work, equipment, tools the employer might provide to assist its employees with telework, liability, and other issues. And then lastly, the remote team agreements are written documents that set forth expectations of how the members of a team will work together. These agreements may detail procedures such as decision-making best practices, support protocols, and the tools and methods team members agree to use. These are usually living documents that are adjusted over time as needed. Next slide, please. Okay, now I'm going to go into the business continuity plan. Under Florida law, a citizen must be self-sufficient for up to 72 hours following a natural or man-made disaster. If an impending or actual emergency renders the business's regular resources unavailable, business owners may be required to depend on outside and/or alternative resources. Having those resources identified and readily available in case of an emergency can prove to be invaluable. Additionally, a business continuity plan offers liability safeguards. A business owner can be held liable for death, injury, loss, or damage for providing shelter or on business real property during an emergency or an impending emergency. If the owner's gross negligence or willful and wanton misconduct was approximate cause. So by implementing a business continuity plan, business owners may be able to negate or curtail negative impacts, including costly litigation, loss of good reputation, possible dissolution of the business, and more. So for your business continuity plan, your toolkit should identify the risks, develop a plan, and then allow you to take action. Some examples of toolkits are preparedness for social media, hurricane, inland flooding, power outage, severe wind, and earthquake. Next slide, please. All right, now we have the crisis management plan. Small business owners want to be able to optimally operate by maintaining and/or reducing losses, have a fully functioning staff, and maintaining and/or increasing revenue. Unfortunately, emergencies and/or difficult situations may occur, which detrimentally affect the manner in which a small business operates. A crisis management plan ensures that your small business will continue to function during an emergency and/or a difficult situation with minimal negative impacts. So what you want to do is you want to strategize. You want to brainstorm what areas in which a crisis may affect your business. You also want to look at your communications. Whom does your business communicate with externally, and then whom does your business communicate with internally? And then look at implementation. So after thoroughly brainstorming and meticulously writing out your small business strategy and how to address the important communications, your crisis management plan has been built. Ensure that the users of the plan familiarize themselves with it. Revisit your crisis management plan frequently to tweak it accordingly. Some examples of different types of crises are public relations, financial, technology, workplace violence, and natural. Next slide, please. Okay, last but not least, we have the business interruption insurance. What you want to do is review your insurance policy to verify if you qualify for coverage due to the effects of the pandemic. Business interruption insurance is usually purchased for financial reimbursement for loss of use of the intended business when the business is forced to close. For example, what your income and extra care costs would be during the time frame that it is closed. It may include a civil authority clause. It's based on the language in the policy. and you have to prove that there is a direct physical loss. You can do this by providing a 3-year profit and loss statement. It is an order issued by a municipality to close the business, available 72 hours after the business is closed, usually 4 weeks out based on the policy language. The elements to establish coverage are as follows. The property sustained a direct physical damage as a result of a covered loss. Loss occurred to the property during the policy period. So the ultimate issue is to be determined, is whether the closure of the business by orders of the state will be interpreted by the courts as a direct physical loss to the property, which resulted in damages. You may encounter some hurdles, such as some policies may have an exclusion for damages resulting from viruses. So, for example, it may not just come out and say viruses, it may say pollutants, but if you look in the fine print under the definition of pollutants, it will say viruses. Also, insurance companies may initially deny the claim. Therefore, the more information regarding the negative impacts on your business due to COVID-19, the better. For example, you want to say how the closure of your business caused damages to the business profits and additional expenses as a result of COVID-19 and civil authority. That concludes today's presentation. Thank you so much for your time. Did you all have any questions or concerns?
Thank you, DaVatrice. And again, that was DaVatrice Lindsey, attorney at law from the Legal Aid Society of Palm Beach County. This presentation has been a recording for Legal Aid Society and will be available in our library to be posted in our social media. Thank you so much, Ms. Lindsey. Have a wonderful day, and thank you all. Be safe.
Thank you as well, Mario. You do the same.